How many times have you had an absolutely brilliant game only to look down at your KDAs of your laners, you're being flamed, they're feeding, and you simply cannot carry the game? And that's because you just didn't make them respect you because of who you were as a jungler. And the most important thing for us as junglers is to make our teammates respect us and follow us so that we can give them the wins they don't really deserve, but we do, and that's all that really matters. And thus, in this video, I am going to be going over 8 ways to make your laners respect junglers immediately every single game, and in doing so, they won't take your farm, they will follow your calls, and it'll be much easier to carry even if they don't have the best KDAs because they will realize you are the win condition. As always, coaching directly is available on my Patreon. My Zara GG live companion guides for Volibear are available below. Don't forget, coaching VODs are also available on Patreon if you simply want to watch them. And now, without hesitation, let's begin. The first thing is the most important fundamental aspect of jungling. You need to let your actions speak louder than words. And look, I can be a keyboard warrior as well. I grew up following Michael Jordan and of course Kobe Bryant, so trash talks a little bit in the game, but at the same time, that can do way more harm than good to the fragility of the modern laner. But hey, look, if you ping the jungler's location, you say he's going to be top lane, he walks through a ward and your top laner still dies, yeah, you can say a cheeky something. However, it would be way more palatable for your top laner if perhaps you were counter jungling his bottom side or diving the bot lane or taking a dragon, or even simply showing up to trap and clean up the kill afterwards. The whole point is, the words won't mean anything because the actions did all the talking. This works just as well for any of the laners, as long as you are doing something that harms enemy jungler, benefits for his time spent in that lane, and of course feeds yourself and perhaps another laner to show your team, hey listen, that's okay, we're still gonna win this game. But if you're just sitting in a bush frying some chickens and tanking all their damage, you're smacking Grump's little cheeks, and you're making more noise than an opera singer with tonsillitis, then your actions aren't doing the speaking, which means there's no point in having chat enabled. However, I do understand people like to communicate certain things with their laners about what they want to accomplish, but the whole point is that means nothing if it's not backed up by the actions of a Chad-like, supreme level superstar 12.7 KDA jungler. And the second thing is to stop taking yourself so seriously. Laugh at yourself, and I mean that in a very literal sense. You die in a scuttle crab, you call yourself blabber. You die in a random invade, you call yourself an idiot. You say my bad and you move on, even if your laner should have rotated, even if your laner should have maybe helped out. You don't know the inner workings of the complexities of their laner mind. You don't know what he was about to do. Maybe he was just about to go trading. Maybe he really needed that CS for a break-even point, and you forced a fight over a level 3 scuttle, which has no experience. It has gold, but it has no experience, and we're not really pirates. Even if, of course, it is a simple bad play, simply going lol my bad is amazing for the game's morale because, hey look, this jungler is doing well, but he also made a play and he just said, oh, my bad, it's not your fault, laner, I absolve you. My bad, I'll fix it next time round. That's a really huge thing for everyone, not just junglers, but I think being able to laugh at yourself and your mistakes is something sorely missing from this game at the moment. Please people, if you fuck up, just laugh at yourself once in a while. It's okay, no one is 10 out of 10 perfect in everything they do in anything in life. Please remember that. Now you also need to, as a third point, do what you believe wins the game and be honest if it is not you. I love my hyperscaling off-meta weird jungle picks. I love my hyperscaling meta picks. I do really love a lot of jungle choices that make me the hyper carry main focus in the mid and the late game, but I also play a lot of Volibear. I also play a lot of Warwick. I also play a lot of Zyra, Ornn, Rek'Sai, and so on. And those champions, while they can be carries at every stage of the game, a lot of the time you're going to find out that that ADC you fed is the win condition. And if they need, Wolves or Grump to break even at a 3rd or 4th item, sometimes it's okay to simply give it to them. But you also need to understand that if you have a Kayle top and a Vayne bot, and you believe that the Kayle is the one for you to focus on, do that. If you trust that she is a better matchup, she's better on her champion, you can give her Herald Gold, you can really get her fed, get her to 11, and then of course steamroll to 16, and you can basically forsake the bottom lane. That's fine, do what you believe wins the game. But you need your actions to speak louder than words, because the Vayne's gonna see this and go, you know what, this sucks. Bot lane lost, enemy jungle div, yada yada in chat rampaging about how you're an idiot and you should never play jungle again. Or you and Kayle are just ready to 2v8 and you're giving her all the resources necessary. And if you're a scaling jungler and this is happening across the map, as long as the enemy jungler is nothing, as long as you have a huge level lead and you are infusing yourself appropriately, most people will see that and play around you. And if you are honestly assessing this every single game, then most of the time you're going to be winning a lot of the games you're playing, and the more carry focused guides I've released this month really drive in on these points, so I will leave those linked below. The fourth thing is going to be difficult, very, very difficult, and I hope you can do it. Do not attribute to malice that which can be explained by complete and utter goddamn stupidity. That can be explained by ignorance. Because a lot of the times your laners will be doing questionable things. They will be dying. You know, everyone was doing something random. And then you go on a Discord into my vent room and you basically say, oh, look at my laners, they suck. I can't carry. That's not true. They just didn't know what the hell they were doing because they were gold or platinum or silver or iron. It doesn't matter relative to the elo you're playing. You see, League players love to always say, well, you're inting, you're soft inting, you are griefing my game, you are paid off, you are betting, and sometimes it's just the person's ignorant or dumb or just playing badly. And honestly, it's okay to have a bad game. It's okay to be ignorant about something because you need to learn it. And maybe that is their experience so that they can learn it. The point is, if you eliminate the whole concept of, hey, they're doing this to harm me specifically, trust me, they don't give a shit about you. They are not your mothers, or in most cases your mothers. But if you understand that it's ignorance, you'll have a way better view of how to carry the game, because basically you'll say, listen, this Soraka doesn't understand anything. Soraka, please heal me and we win the game, you can type. And if you are a 20 kill Kindred, usually that's all that you need to really focus on winning the game, instead of flaming them for doing something that you think they did intentionally. You understand? Now the fifth thing is be last to speak, because a lot of the times if you start typing already as a jungler in the early game when something goes wrong instead of doing the first 4 points, your team will probably not respond well, which means you're probably going to be losing some Krugs, some buffs, some more camps, maybe a crab, and obviously if you need help for a dragon, for a herald, for a rotation, for an invade, they're not going to want to help you. So if they're typing and if you're simply having a decent game, just don't say anything. There's nothing to be said, make your shot calls and that's it. But if there's a whole fight going on, be the one to wrap it up. Alright, guys, stop, we can win, I'm doing this. That's not fake, honest, hippy-dippy talk, because I hate that, honestly. I hate the fake positivity. Guys, we can win no matter what. No, you're down 20k gold, FF. But if you have a hyperscaling comp and you're down 10k gold, and honestly the map's within touching distance, that's fine. You know, you can definitely rally around that and try and hold off and win. I have way too many challenges already for winning games with an open nexus just to prove that point. And if you're wondering why that's platinum already in terms of the challenges, well then, you know, that's got nothing to do with you. And you see, the sixth thing is to be able to adapt your playstyle to the enemy jungler and your laners and their laners. Junglers are designed to be malleable and evolve to game states, evolve to metas. This is our big selling point. This is why junglers are some of the best in the game, obviously ones who have played lane. If you haven't played lane, you are significantly on another tier. And that tier is below, because you need to understand lane to be a good jungler, and if you've never played lane in your life, I'm sorry. But while typical lanes have certain metas around certain classes of champions and they keep coming in and out, junglers can go from, you know, Sejuani Zac metas to Kindred Graves metas, to Nidalee Hecarim metas, to Udyr Hecarim metas, to all of a sudden this meta where everything is possible and you have to understand so many different styles of play. We really have to learn every class and every role of champion in the game, because you never know when it's gonna prop up and be something you can spam to climb. In fact, some of our junglers are so good, they're not even junglers, they're laners, and then they get yeeted out of the jungle, we cry a little bit, but I don't see top laners that are able to play marksman, tank, fighter, mage, assassin, enchant, or whatever the hell else there is in the game. I mean, junglers can do that, not every other lane can. And the thing is, it's not just about that, it's about the playstyles that come with it. Do you need to be a Karthus and maybe something that needs to farm a little bit, create pressure without having kill participation, but you're still going to come out with a 50 CS lead, a 2-3 level lead, you know, Dragon Soul and everything you need to win the game and still end up with 70% KB? If you're questioning that, I did cover that with an Udyr video last week, I will link that below as well. But if you also need to be a ganker, like a Season 9 jungler, say a Rexa and a Warwick and things like that, we can do it. We'll come from every single angle, we will forsake our camps, we will make sure that lane is won. Likewise, the team fighting responsibilities that come with playing different classes, it's so diverse for junglers. You know, playing a Rengar versus an Ivern versus a Maokai versus Sejuani versus playing a Kindred or a Graves, these are radically different playstyles, but junglers are the ones that I feel can be really adaptable to those situations. Obviously, a lot of you only play certain style of junglers, but as a role in general, if you want to stick around in this game, in this role, for 5 years or longer, many seasons and many changes, that's what it takes. And we're really good at that. So stop complaining when the meta doesn't suit you and either adapt or find a way to make your style work. And that's the punchline for this section. Also, in terms of jungle theory, you need to use your lane prior properly. That means ganking when it's gankable, diving when it's diveable, and asking for rotations and help when they can, not when you think they can. Yeah, you didn't think I was going to add that at the end, did you? Not all prio is created equal. You might have your bot lane pushed up against a tower, but if the enemy bot lane is on that tower and you're trying to invade that second spawn grump and the enemy Karthus is coming down, who gets there faster? Use your brain. Just because your laners are pushed up doesn't mean they have the ability to rotate there first. They do not. So you have prior for crab, you don't have prior for grump. So you need to make sure you know that they can help you when they actually can and not when you believe they can. And that's where you're clicking on the minimap, using your F keys, great camera control. That is why it's so vital. But the same can be said for dragons and heralds. Way too many times junglers are like, yep, great gank, beautiful, let's go do this. Nah. Your bot lane needs to reset, your top lane needs to reset to spend that gold, to get that advantage. They don't have the time to perhaps do that objective, go back to base, recoup their HP, buy and get back to the lane. The enemy laner then will get free real estate over the lane state, over tower plates potentially. It also opens you up to the enemy laner showing up with the jungler fresh, while your laner isn't, you all die, and now they've lost the lead that you helped them gain, or maybe they even got it themselves. So in terms of herald takes, in terms of dragon secures, in terms of invades, think of it like two-factor authorization. If you go for these plays and you think with the cursory look on your minimap that they should be able to do it, that's great. But now you need to click and ask yourself what they want to accomplish, what they have been doing the last few minutes. Did they just reset? Did they just get a kill? And that's your second sort of factor authorization to make sure that, listen, this laner can help me here, or perhaps this is even a good play to make by myself, and I won't be collapsed upon by the enemy team, 3v1, and then forced to loop back around and just laugh at myself. And finally, treat the lanes how you want to be treated as well, and this will make them love you dearly, because guess what? If you don't gank and then you demand a rotation, but you could have ganked, why should they rotate for you? Now, it's stupid, it's juvenile, it's dumb, but at the same time, you're being entitled. At the same time, if you gank for a laner and they don't rotate when they can, they're being entitled. How about we all just make the right play that lets us win the damn game without any sort of fighting and bickering over nothing? That's a general sentiment, but basically it starts with you. If you do this, others will do this, it escalates, and all of a sudden, League is just a little bit toxic and not insanely toxic. The old streamer influence of how to treat people, talk in chat, how to play the game very, very selfishly, that needs to dissipate and die a little bit. We need to move forward if we want this game to thrive and survive, and all of that happens when we play the game properly. No one wants someone who's going to chuck 40 shots a game. People want people who pass when they're open, who understand how to play as a team. So if you're an AFK farming Hercrim and you think, haha guys, just sit tight, lose, have no fun, and I'll carry the game. Well, what if I'm an aggressive lane that needs to shove, that needs to play that lane aggressively for kill pressure, leaving me susceptible to ganks? Well, the best you can do is basically say, look, I'm doing this, but if you ward and I track him and you track him with me, I'll counter gank him and help you out when that does happen. See, that's how you play an AFK farming jungler. You don't ignore your lanes and go selfish 1v9. You understand, hey, look at that lane state, the enemy jungler might want to gank it. Let me track him, ping it, communicate it, and then counter gank it. Now my laners have the time and are more motivated to help me invade and counter jungle, fall back to dragons, fall back to other ganks, and move around the map. And this works both ways, and you can tell very much I play jungle and lane very much equally, and I love playing around a good jungler, and I love it when a jungler understands how to play around lanes. It works well, the fusion is good. But hopefully these tips play a little bit into your mental attitude, but also how to approach games, game plans, and game states. Play with a more open mind, play with a very fluid focus, and once you've made those laners respect you as the jungler, you have no issue having them play around you, and you're gonna have no issue winning games. And honestly, it's always about the theory of how we jungle, but it's also just as much every point in this video. What's that? You want to be a farming jungler savant? Video in the box on the top right. What's that? You just want a total jungle carry guide to 1v9, even if your laners are ignoring everything in this video? Video in the box in the bottom left.